This is the Political Spotlight.
The political spotlight is a joke. It's more like a political flop.
Nobody listens to Bilbrey.
He's just a wannabe podcaster. No one takes him seriously.
He is a rude, crude dude that will never go any further than broadcasting from his mother's basement.
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politicians.
Grab another box of Twinkies and generic cola, Bilbrey,
And get back to your microphone and your audience of nobodies.
The political spotlight is a joke. It's
He is like a rude, crude dude that will never go
Bilbrey's a wrecking ball for Indiana politics. Shut that stupid Bilbrey up.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Friday episode. This Friday episode. We're normally not here on Fridays, and I really wanted to not be here tonight, but first off, I told everybody that I would be here, so I wanted to have something here. But second of all, today went off basically like I thought that it would go off. Everything went as planned. Everything went maybe not as we would have liked things to go, but it went off the way that I assumed it would go. There was no major changes. Nothing big happened. It was just a regular day where the various boards of elections all throughout Indiana's 92 counties either today met to certify their elections or they met before today. Like, for example, Delaware County met back on Tuesday, I think. And it was, a pretty standard Delaware County election board meeting. I think a lot of other election boards around the area met on Wednesday. And then, of course, as I said, the Henry County Election Board met today. Now, that's what we're going to be talking about. This episode is a special episode. Generally, when I say, this is not going to be a long episode, we just do the regular length anyways. I really, really, really am going to try to not make this a crazy long episode because I'm really only going to be talking about one specific thing, one specific area, and it's things that we've already covered. I'm just going to try and cover it like one last time because I think that there are people that aren't understanding, they're not getting it. And I kind of think that it's just they're not wanting to at this point. I think people are trying to be, they're being facetious and just attempting to be this way, being hard to get along with and being kind of, a little picky on this just because they're trying to prove a point. Now, there are legitimate people that have problems with what's going on. And I normally wouldn't out people like this. I don't know that. Yeah, that's right. Exactly right, Admiral. That's exactly right. I normally wouldn't out people like this, but I'm going to, because first of all, he's made it very clear on this program, his feelings about this. And I don't think that he would have an issue with this, but our viewer, Joe, one of the viewers here, Joe, I know Joe is upset with what's going on. And I want Joe to know, because Joe was just talking to me about this. When I'm talking about what I'm going to be talking in this episode, I am not talking to Joe because I get what Joe is saying 100%. And I don't put Joe in the same category as some of these other people. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people that are commenting on social media about this. And it's people that either just flat out don't follow politics and they don't have an understanding about how things like this go, or almost even worse, because those people can be forgiven, okay, because they just don't know. But almost worse than that is the person that has a little bit of understanding. They've got a little bit of knowledge. And with that little bit of knowledge, they do and they say things that just don't make any sense. They don't really add up. And it makes the problem worse, because then there's other people out there that look at these people who are posting this and they say, oh, look, so-and-so saying this or so-and-so saying that. And then they take that and they run with that. And then there starts the game of telephone. And never before in American history has it ever been as bad as it is now, with people taking a little kernel of truth, running with it, and adding their own little spin on it. And then we've got just total misinformation, disinformation, total insanity going out in all directions. And it really makes things bad. It makes things tough. It's one of the hardest things to deal with from my point of view, as someone doing what I do, trying to get people involved. It's not trying to teach people what goes on. It's trying to unteach the bad habits. It's trying to unteach the nonsense, the things that are not actually truthful. So I'm going to try to explain this situation, because this is a situation that these things don't come up very often. There are a lot of things wrong in politics. There are a lot of things wrong in government. There are a lot of things that people can gripe about and be upset about. There's a lot of things that I'm upset about on a nightly basis. I've made a career of this, being upset about things in government and being mad about how these people are doing things. But every now and then, we just might have to believe that, or not even believe. We just have to know, rather. It's knowing that sometimes, it is what it is. And it's not a bigger situation. It's not worse than it is. The whole Sigmund Freud saying, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And that's that's very true. Sometimes it's a big conspiracy and everybody's pulling the strings and this person's doing this person and this person's doing that. But then sometimes it's the way it shakes out. It is what it is. So that's what we're talking about tonight. And I just to let you know, I've been looking around the certification Stumblefoot. That's a very good possibility. Here's the thing. So checking around the area, the certification process went pretty easy everywhere. And this is probably one of the most important things to understand. And a lot of people don't know this. The certification process is not the election board. Again, I'm going to say this. It's not them certifying results. It's not them saying, yes, everything went off as planned. It happened the way that we wanted it to happen. It happened the way that we thought that it would happen. This person is the winner. This person is the loser. This person wins this race. This person wins this race. That is not what they are doing. The certification process is the election board. First and foremost, when an election board meets during this process, there are a number of things they have to do. There might be provisional ballots that were cast. And if you cast a provisional ballot because you don't have your ID, if you go to vote and you show up and you don't have your ID, or your ID doesn't match where it's supposed to be for this or for that, you can say, okay, I'll go get this fixed and I will come back. Or they can try and talk you into doing that. But if you demand, no, I'm going to vote now, I want to vote now, they are not to turn you away. They are not supposed to turn you away. At the end of the day, if you're there and you want to vote and you're like, I vote here and I'm not leaving and I want to vote here, they are supposed to allow you to vote on a provisional ballot. So you don't vote the same way everybody else does. You vote on a provisional ballot. And then what they do is they take that provisional ballot and instead of putting it in the ballot box with all of the other votes, they put that provisional ballot off in another box. And then you're told it's your responsibility. You have a certain period of time in which you must rectify that. And it's whatever the issue is. You must prove that your address is this address. You must get your ID and bring it up. And here's what happens. Sometimes people do that, and sometimes they just forget it. They think, well, I voted, and that's all that matters, and I've done my part. Well, that's what happens on these days. Like, so for example, all right, Delaware County went off, Madison County went off, Wayne County, Randolph County, Jay County, Blackford County. It all went off pretty much as it does, okay? There were little issues here or there, and they worked through it with no issue. We are, for the most part, going to be focusing on Henry County in this exercise, okay? So Henry County, they sat down, and I don't know off the top of my mind how many provisional ballots they had. Let's say I'm making this up totally. Stand by. Somebody's calling me on a private number. Let me see what this is. Hello? Hello? Caller, you're live on the air. Hello? Caller, you're live. Okay. I don't normally get private calls, and when I do, I'm always like, ooh, it's spooky. We'll have to see what that is, but they didn't want to talk, I guess. Okay, that happens. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Henry County had 30 provisional ballots. It's Randy. Let's say they had 30 provisional ballots. Those, it's my chance to get my extended warranty. I've been meaning to talk to you people. Let's say they had 30 provisional ballots. Those 30 provisional ballots were not counted, aren't counted in the totals that we get on election night. They are set to the side. And then they are voted when they go through. They pull each provisional ballot up and say, okay, provisional ballot number 1, this person did not have their driver's license on them when they came to vote. And they say, did this person ever come in and provide their ID? And they will say, yes, this person came in the following Monday and they brought their ID. Then they'll say, okay, we're going to vote on this provisional ballot. They needed to bring in their ID. Do they bring in their ID? Yes. Then they vote. And then that provisional ballot is then added to the total. And that provisional ballot now counts. Provisional ballot number 2. This person, same situation. They needed to bring their ID in, and they needed to do that. Did this person ever bring their ID in? No. As of right now, Jane Doe on provisional ballot number 2 never brought us her ID. Okay. Then they vote, and because that person did not follow what they were doing, did not follow what they were supposed to be doing, this person did not meet the requirements, and her vote does not get to count. So they vote, and they vote to not count provisional ballot number 2. So they stick that in the discard pile. So her vote does not count. And they do that through down, and they get to all right, provisional ballot 28. This person's address was in question, and they came in and they proved it. They vote provisional ballot 28 counts. It's in the pile. Okay, that's what they needed to do. For example, let's talk about this. There was a military ballot from Henry County that it got sent to Henry County, and it didn't show up when it normally would show up, but it showed up in time. So they counted. My brother's in the military. My brother is not in the United States. My brother's not in his home state. My brother's not in his home city. He's not in his home county. But my brother votes military absentee ballot. And they vote. They send it over here. It's supposed to be over here at a certain time. So the Henry County Election Board had to decide, do we accept this military ballot? And it met the criteria. Everything was looked good. It got there by the deadline. So they vote, ching, we take this and it fits. It's in. Okay. So there's all these different things that they have to do and to go through and to make sure that everything's ready. If there's mail-in ballots that look like there's something wrong with the mail-in ballot, the ballot card didn't have both signatures. They have to vote. Is there both signatures there? Yeah. Does it look like the Republicans signed this? It looks like they did, but their pencil was out, or their pen was going out, and it doesn't. The signature, the initials are just barely there. So they vote and they count it. Okay, that's what goes on, and that's what they go through the process. That's a lot of it. Then, when they are certifying the count, certifying the numbers, it's not the election board's decision to say, Jim Nicholson, you have won the primary sheriff's race. John Sproles, you lost. Williams, you lost. Ring, you lost. Howard, you lost. They're not doing that. They are saying, in the sheriff's office race, let's say in the sheriff's office race, there were 10,000 votes cast across Henry County, across the 12 vote centers. There were 10,000 ballots cast in the votes cast in the sheriff's race. And those 10,000, and that's a made-up number. I don't have the numbers in front of me. This is not about the exact numbers. This is about the process. So they are spread out, and they say, okay, we know that 10,000 votes were cast in this race. In vote center number 1, 340 votes were cast. And vote center number 2, 215 votes were cast. Whatever. They make sure those numbers match. They make sure that everything matches up. And they make sure at the end of the day that the numbers match. That's what they're there to do. That is what they are there to do. That's what the responsibility is that they have. Okay? If someone thinks that there is a problem, if a candidate says, I don't like what's happening here, I think something's wrong, I think there needs to be a recount, I think there needs to be a special election, I think, it is that candidates currently under the law, as the law is now, it is that candidate's responsibility to do what happens. Okay. Joe Tompkins says, if the election board could make sure the ballots are correct, that would be great. Voter ID doesn't mean shit if the ballots aren't correct. And that is a big thing. And listen, I'm going to say, so I have not said that. I think I've said this a little bit, but I haven't made a big deal about this. Because of this election, and specifically because of the Knightstown situation, I have reached out to the state representative over that area, which is Corey Criswell, And I text Corey the other day. Specifically, I text Corey on Monday, I think. And I said, let's see where I can find Corey, if I can find Corey here. Yeah, so I said, hey, this was on Tuesday. Hello, I need to get with you coming up on an issue I think might be good for you, for Henry County and the state. I will call you sometime after Friday to chit-chat a bit. And he did get back to me, and he said, hey, Bilbrey, sounds good. Just text today that you have some free time, and we will get a hold of one another. Hope you're doing well. And so I fully believe that this is a situation that needs, and I hate saying this because I think that they do way too much of this. Here's the problem. Our state lawmakers and even our local representatives and legislative bodies, they do too much nonsense that's not needed. This, however, is a situation which needs legislative input. I fully believe that there is a blind spot in the current election law, and it's a blind spot for this specific issue and probably several others. And I fully believe, I don't know what it needs to be. This is just a thought that is in my head that's germinated from this issue. Something needs to be done. We need to change the law. We need to rewrite what's happening. We need to rescind something and add something. We need to add to, change something, rewrite. Something needs to be done so that in cases like this and probably other situations, the election board, the end-all be-all with each and every election in each and every county, needs to be able to say, something is wrong here. We need to fix this. Something's wrong here. We need to fix this. And they need to have mechanisms in which they can say, okay, we will certify the overall election for the county, for Middletown, for whoever else, Moreland, I don't know, wherever the other places have little town councils and things. We will certify all of their elections. But we have had an issue in Knightstown, and we have to rectify what is happening in Knightstown. Okay? That has to be there. And the only way that that can be there, the only way that we can do that is if we can get the state legislature to write something up and to do this. Okay? We need to be able to do that. And so I'm going to reach out to Corey Criswell. I'm going to talk to him. I don't know that he's been following what goes on. Surely he has. But I'm going to make sure that he's aware of what's happening in Knightstown. Then I'm going to reach out and I'm going to say, well, this is what I'm thinking. This was what needs to happen. Let's make this happen. And maybe he'll do it, or maybe he won't. Maybe I'll have to reach out to, Scott Alexander, or maybe I'll have to reach out to Jeff Rotz. But a state representative, a state senator needs to take this ball and run with it. I will help them however I possibly can, but something needs to be done because right now, and look, there are people, I'm seeing people. Joe is mad, and rightfully so, because we technically don't know what the situation is in Knightstown. Here's what I'm not liking. I'm not seeing Joe doing this, and that's the reason I said at the beginning. I don't know if Joe just got here, but that's the reason I said at the beginning. Like, I'm not mad about what Joe is doing and Joe's issue. I stand behind what Joe is doing and saying. Here's what I don't like. I don't like that I am seeing people saying things like, people were disenfranchised in Knightstown. That's not true. Nobody was told they couldn't vote. Nobody was turned away. The issue that we are dealing with in Knightstown is too many people voted. Okay? It's quite the opposite. If people, I'll put it to you this way. If people were turned away, if people were disenfranchised, if people were not allowed to vote, I would figuratively be burning Henry County down. I would have moved there, set up shop. I would be there, and we would be making the biggest stink out of this. That is not the case. What the case is, and that's why I titled this one more time. Let me try to explain the Knightstown situation. And I have this. Listen closely for the last time. This is, there's a big difference between people saying that people were disenfranchised. That's a lot different than saying too many people voted. Okay. So the bottom line is, in the little town of Knightstown, again, I'm not using real numbers here at all. These are fake numbers. I have no problem with letting more people vote. We have to sort that out. We can't let people vote that are not supposed to vote. That has to be taken care of. Okay. I would have a major problem with turning people away that have a right to vote. If you are a citizen and you vote here and you have a right to vote, okay, I would have a major problem if those people were being turned away in Knightstown. That's not what happened. Okay. So I'm not using real numbers. These are pretend numbers. All right. I don't know the population of Knightstown. Let's just say in Knightstown, there are 500 voters. Okay. And we know that if there are 500 registered voters in Knightstown, they don't vote 100%. So let's say of the 500 registered voters, 250 of them regularly vote, and the other 250 don't. Okay. So 250 people generally vote in Knightstown. Well, in this situation, you have 500 registered voters, 250 of them voted, but another 100 people were able to vote in that town election. They also voted all throughout the county. And some of those 100 people voted and they didn't cast votes for clerk. And they didn't cast votes for council because they knew, if I would have went to the polls and I would have got my ballot and there would be names on my ballot that I'm like, wait a minute, this is not right, I would not vote for those names. I would leave that blank. So if somebody left that blank, that ballot, even though it was technically wrong, the ballot was wrong, the vote, in my opinion, is good because they didn't vote. Okay. That's the situation. If they didn't vote in either of those two Knightstown elections, then in my opinion, that is okay. There are some people, and we know that this happened, there are some people that was not supposed to vote, or maybe they didn't know. I'm not saying anybody did it on purpose. They just got it and they saw, oh, hey, there's names here for some reason. Okay, bloop, 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 and they did it. That is a problem. Now, Joe says, if the election board could make sure that ballots are correct, that would be great. And I don't know. Oh, yeah, you need ID to vote. There is no question about that, Jack. Absolutely. I have no problem saying that. There's no question. People just can't walk in and just vote. That's nuts. It's also, speaking in the state of Indiana, an indigent person can get an ID with no issue. It does not of no cost to them. If somebody is indigent and needs to get an ID to vote, they can do so at no cost to them by going to the BMV. It absolutely. So that should not be a problem. Everyone should have an ID to vote. So that's because you don't have to vote. If you don't want an ID and you say, I don't want them to, you don't have to vote. People don't have to vote. So yeah, voters didn't do anything wrong. I'm not blaming voters at all. The other thing, though, I'm not blaming, because here's the other situation. People keep saying the election board knew this a week into early voting. They did. Well, no, back up. That's the problem. That's what I want to clarify. Someone knew there was a problem, but there was a connection issue. So somebody goes to vote early, they stick their ballot in, and this person is a conscientious person. I don't know who they are. I've not talked to any of these people. They they go up there and they do the thing and they look, hey, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to be having these names on my ballot. So this voter tells a poll worker. The poll worker tells another individual. That individual apparently says this person, he or she, is going to contact somebody they know that can help. And they say, hey, someone is going to be contacting you and letting you know about a problem. Does not tell them what the problem is. Says someone is going to be contacting you about a problem. But the contact was never made. So the first time that the Henry County Election Board and the Henry County Clerk's Office was made aware of any kind of issue, the first time they were made aware was 9 a.m. on Election Day. And I see people who are legitimately out here saying, well, why didn't they stop voting there? That's nuts to me. You can't stop voting. Look, that's not the fix. That's not the fix to this problem. You don't say there's a problem and too many people are being able to vote in somewhere. So what do? We just shut down voting. Okay. That's a problem. And Alva, listen, there was a kid. I say kid, I don't know how old he is. I assume it's a kid. In Henry County on Election Day, not Henry County, excuse me, in Randolph County on Election Day, that I saw made a post on Election Day, and that this guy says, I don't understand. Have the elections always been like this? This is what the post goes like this. and I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not reading it in front of me, but the post said something to the effect, I don't understand. When did the elections change? I voted for a long time, and I don't remember the elections ever needing to be like this. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but they made me tell them what ballot I wanted, and I think that's a problem. Well, I picked Democrat because I lean mostly left, but I don't understand. I got my ballot, and there weren't any Republicans on it. And I'm thinking, oh, God. And this person's like, I vote all the time. And there were commenters saying, well, obviously you vote only in the general election. And this person's like, no, I vote in primaries too. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way you vote in primaries. There is no way that you voted in a primary election if you're confused about what's going on in this primary election, because this primary election is not different than any other primary election. And so, yeah, like I write under this post and I say, it sounds like you are somebody that probably shouldn't have been voting today. Because if you go back on my show, I'm not somebody that says everybody needs to be getting out and voting. I don't believe that. I believe that everybody needs to get educated and then vote. But if you're not going to get educated and you don't know what's going on and you don't know what you're voting for and you don't know what offices are up and you don't know who's running, what are you doing? What are you doing going? You're just going in and just picking names that sound cool. You're like, oh, this looks like a woman. This looks like a man. I might vote for the man here. I might vote for the woman here. Oh, that person spells their name right. That's cool. That's a cool looking name. Oh, that office is cool. I'll probably just push something there. That is so harmful. That is so harmful. That is something that could happen. Yeah, right, Amy. That is something, and I apologize, folks, for the comments. We normally put them up. Because Kate had to leave last night, they had kind of a personal family emergency that they needed to take care of. She wasn't up last night, and they've been taking care of that all day today. So she didn't know I was doing a show tonight. So we're normally off on Fridays, and that's the reason she's not here, and that's the reason things aren't going up. So I just, for the record, I want people to know that the Henry County Election Board and the Henry County Clerk's Office today did not do anything wrong by certifying what they had to do. I will be honest. They had to do what they did today. State law dictates that they have to certify the votes, certify the numbers, that they had to do that. That's what had to happen. They did not have any other choice. And so that's a problem that needs to be taken care of legislatively moving forward. Now, the issue here is that does not help this election. And the other thing I want to make sure is this does not mean that the special election is dead. This does not mean that the special election is dead. There is still time. There is still time for one of the candidates to petition the court. Now, I have been told that Gorman will not be petitioning the court. And on the news coverage earlier, Bart Whitesett told Rich Nye that he would be filing a petition. I have not got word from Bart. Maybe Bart's going to tell me. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's mad that I told him he can't use his official email to do this kind of work. I don't know. Something seemed a little off there. I don't know what the deal is. I have no clue. Brenda Grider says, so I have a question. Is the only way for Knightstown to fix this is for one of the candidates to do something about it? So everything that I have heard and seen currently says that the only way that this can be rectified is if a candidate in that Knightstown election to file for a petition. That's what I've heard. Now, I don't know that that's right. I believe a voter who has standing could. I'm a voter, but I'm not a voter in Henry County, and I'm not a voter in Knightstown, so I can't file the suit. I think if somebody lives in Middletown, you're a voter, and you're a voter in Henry County, but you're not in the Knightstown area, so I don't think that person could file. I think a voter in the Knightstown area could file. Here's the thing. Why would a voter want to pay all that money out to have that done? I don't know. All right, we're getting this here. So they're saying that Bart filed today. Let me pull that up. Or filed. I don't know that he filed today. I guess he would have had to have filed today. So let me check my email. I just don't know that Bart and or his team fully know how to email, or they care. Maybe they just don't like me. I don't know. That's fine. Either way. That's the only way if I move to Knightstown. If I move to Knightstown, I'm taking it over. It will be a complete dictatorship, and I will not be a benevolent dictator. It won't be fun. You guys won't like it. Give me a second here. $26.05. Am I? I bet I won't get this. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right, Joe. I get it. Yeah. You're not wrong, bro. I get it. Okay, let me look this up. Yeah, I found it here. That's right. That's right, Jack. Okay, here we go. Let's see. All right, that makes sense. Wait, so, all right. Here's what we got, people. Henry County Circuit Court, 33 CO1. That's right, Joe. Now, hey, I might come down there and attend. That would be interesting. I attended a town council meeting in Knightstown one time. It was back about 3 years ago. That's interesting. I can't remember what the hell that was for. All right. So 33 CO1 2605 MI. And you can forget all those zeros. You can just put 0027, 2 zeros and 27. That's all you need. Bart Whitesett, Bart Joe Whitesett, Barton Joe Whitesett. Okay. And the worst attorney in the world, just simply because I can't pronounce his name. What? How do we pronounce his name? Joe Burjax. Burjax. Is the G pronounced like a J? Burjax. Is that what's going on there? I'm just going to call him Joe John from now on. Okay. Appearance filed by attorney Joe John on behalf of the petitioner. Bart Whitesett. What's up with these names? Subpoena summons filed. Jenny Grubbs. Kirsten Kronk. Butch Baker. Subpoena filed to Carla Gorman, Bart Whitesett, David Maddox, Dakota Steele. Why? Wait a minute. Why are we putting these two people in here? Why are we not putting everybody? Why are we just doing some of them? That's weird. Okay, so that's all we've got going on in here. Hold on a second. Hey, good night, guys. I will see you tomorrow. I'm talking to my grandparents. I'll see you tomorrow if you're still there. I'll be over tomorrow. So, okay, well, there's not, we can't, the filings aren't here. I'll have to get the filings from the clerk's office on Monday. I ask Bart and anyone that filed to send me the filings, but apparently that's too hard for a clerk. Keep in mind, this guy's supposed to be the clerk of York. He's currently the clerk of Knightstown. Yeah, but it's not all the election candidates. So look, we've got summons obviously to Bart. I mean, he's the guy that filed. So yeah, he'll be there. Then we've got I see him here. Okay. So wait a minute. What do we got going on here? Let me look at what's happening. So it looks like the plaintiff in the case is Joe Barton. Okay. Then we've got, okay, I get it. So Burjax is representing Barton and Desiree. So he's got the two plaintiffs. Okay, so he's representing Bart for the clerk's race and Desiree for the council. Now, to me, that's a waste of time, but whatever. Okay, so we've got Joe and Desiree. Then they sent a subpoena to Jenny as the clerk, to Kirsten as the election board, to Butch as the election board, to Jenny as the election board and the clerk. I mean, that's stupid. Okay, so Gorman, Guy, Maddox, and Steele. Okay, that's why I get it. Okay. That's making sense. So Interesting. Okay. Well, so that's where everybody is. What I didn't see was a subpoena to I didn't see a subpoena to Peyton, but it's because Peyton is a plaintiff. So that's what I didn't understand. So, okay, yeah, we'll get the, I mean, this says nothing basically other than it happened. I will get the filing next week. We'll have the filing and we'll be able to look through that and see what the filing is. It's going to be pretty simple. It's going to be cut and dry. Bottom line is, they are, Burgas. That's horrible. Burgas. All right, John. I like Joe John better. I think I just might be calling him Joe John. I'm not a big fan of his. So I might just get his name wrong because I don't like him. I don't know. We will think about that. I like Joe John better. For right now, I'm probably going to call him Joe John. Burgas. Hey, Burgas. Yeah, all right. Whatever. Anyways, it is what it is. Thank you for the pronunciation. Okay, so we'll get this filing on Monday, and we'll read through it. We'll see what goes on. And so, look, everybody should be happy now. They're going to take care of this. A special election will be awarded. And it sounds as if the Henry County Election Board and the Henry County Clerk's Office is going to pay the money back for this. So it sounds like none of the candidates will be out any money. I would say that they're probably not paying any money out. Joe John is just going to keep track of the money spent, and then they will turn that in to the election board, put that in on the petition, and they will get that back. I would say that's probably what's going to happen. So that's the case. I want people to also be aware when the judge rules in favor of the special election, that does not mean that the clerk's office did anything wrong. It does not mean that the election board did anything wrong. The clerk's office and the election board did the only thing that is currently available to them under the law. Now, that is a problem. That is a problem. Oh, no, absolutely. I want to make 100%. I want to make this 100% clear. This is not the voters' fault. It's not the candidate's fault. It's not the people at the polls' fault. Now, I would say that whenever the people at the poll knew something was wrong, instead of telling other people and trying to play the game of telephone, maybe they should have contacted the election board straight away, or at least the clerk's office, and the clerk's office could have contacted the election board. You know, that's a little bit of an issue there. I don't know why that happened, but it is what it is. This is the right thing. This is the right thing. So someone didn't make sure the ballots were right, so someone made a mistake. What the issue is, again, that's where the problem is. The mistake was made when the map that was given to the software company was not a map that made a distinction between innies and outies in Knightstown. And that mistake would be on the back of the clerk's office / election board, but it's not a mistake that was done so in order to give somebody a leg up, or in order to have an outcome of the election that they wanted over something else. It was a total, accidental oversight. Okay. So, I mean, yes. And I'll be honest, I think that the election board, that's the reason I'm giving the election board and the clerk's office so much grace here, because they are openly saying, like, yeah, this was an oversight on our behalf. There's not a legitimate way for them to fix it because the law doesn't allow for that. I am aware through sources that there were at least a couple people on the election board and in the clerk's office who were wanting the election board to file for some kind of petition. The problem is there's not a mechanism for that to happen. Yeah, that's absolutely right, Joe. That's absolutely right. And that comes, they even know why. They even know why that was a problem. It was a problem because they had just never did the election for Knightstown before. And so when they got that and they just assumed it was like everything else, they don't have this issue in Middletown. They don't have this issue in whatever other communities in Henry County. They don't have this issue in Newcastle. They can definitely differentiate between people who are voting in Newcastle who are innies and people who are outies, because they've been doing it for so long. The issue was simply an oversight because Knightstown, for the first time ever, came on board with Henry County doing the election, and that was the problem. This isn't something that someone did nefariously, and that's Joe. That is absolutely right, and that's why right here. This is why I'm going to, next week, reach out to Corey Criswell, and I want to start talking to various state representatives, but I think Corey needs to be on the ground level of this because this happened under, in a community under his watch. He needs to be on the ground floor of this. This needs to be fixed, and it needs to be written into the law that there needs to be a mechanism for this to stop. Because listen, we're talking about software. So even if the election board would have been notified about this, 2 weeks before the election, I don't know if the software company could have fixed it in that amount of time. And so for the people that are running around saying, well, they needed to stop people from voting, dude, that is not a fix for this. I just want to be very clear. There needs to be a fix for this, but the fix for this is not stopping whole sections of people from voting. That can't be. There has to be another mechanism for fixing this. And I'll be honest, this won't happen again in Henry County, but when or if this happens again someplace else, and I'm sure it will, there needs to be a mechanism for which the election board can say, okay, we're certifying everybody else in the county except for this little town, this little county, this little city right over here. This has happened. We're going to put this on hold a special election, and we're going to be the ones that petition it. I think that needs to be the way, because on election day, you can't stop people from voting. That's just not something that I would be outraged if that happened. That would be an outrageous situation if people were stopped from voting on election day. We would all have to be mad about that. There needs to be paper backup ballots for when technology fails. Amen. And I'll be honest, I think as voters, we should have the right to say, when I walk into a voting booth, I should say, I want to cast a ballot the old-fashioned way or on a computer, because there are a lot of old people that would much rather do it the old-fashioned way, and I'm one of those people. I would much rather do it the old-fashioned way. I honestly think we probably need to would be cool if we had a vote and we could say whether we wanted to go back to the old-fashioned way or keep the digital. I would much rather go back to the old-fashioned way. I think that would be fantastic. I'm just not a technology fan. So that's that, folks. We will wait and we'll get the filing on Monday. I do want to say this. This is a note for everybody outside of Knightstown, outside of the Henry County deal. If you are a person who lives, works, or plays in Muncie in Delaware County, we are going to be going Monday morning to a very, very serious election board. Not an election board. Forget the election board. To the Delaware County commissioners meeting. All of those things start to run together in my mind, folks. And I do want to let everybody know that it at least it looks at this time that they are going to start the meeting. They're going to start the meeting as the regular commissioners meeting on Monday, May 18th. If you look, oops, I was frozen. Sorry. Damn it. I'm so sorry. I knew better than that. They are going to start the meeting on the 18th. They're going to call the meeting into order. They're going to do the pledge. They're going to do the roll call. And then at that point, they're going to call the public hearing into session. It is my absolute belief that during the public hearing, they have to let people speak whether they signed up or not. So I feel strongly about this. I will be there and we'll make an issue of this. Hopefully they'll do the right thing. 1,200 people. That's all we need. I'm not asking too much. Just telling you 1,200 people. I don't care what 1,200 of you show up. We just need 1,200 of you to show up. Okay? So I'll be there. That means we need 11,999. It's not that hard. Okay? It's not that hard. I do want to show this up, put this up here. This is the agenda for that meeting. And as you can see right up here at the top, announcements, public hearing, CCDF. That's what it is right there. So it will be very early on. So don't delay. Get there early. Get there at 9 o'clock, 9:05. You got to be there early. And we need, I want to get there. I was talking to somebody. I want to get there and not even be able to get into the door. That needs to be the problem that we have on Monday. 1,200 people. Hashtag 1,200 people. We've got the rest of tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday to talk about it. Of course, we'll be talking about this Sunday when we come back. There is no show tomorrow, so keep that in mind. No show tomorrow, and that'll be that. So you guys have a great rest of your evening. Have a great Saturday, a great Sunday, and we'll see you back here Sunday night at 9 p.m. And we'll be talking about all of this along with everything else. You guys take care. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. And God bless each and every one of you. Oh, before we leave, smash that like button. It would be so great. If you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing and share the show with everyone you know. Help spread the word. We would love it. Thank you. Good night. Goodbye.